Let's move on from the pestle. In your paper, you had written that projects will become more expensive.
Yes.
Okay. What's your grounds for that statement?
We have to cover the cost of chaos. Cost of chaos means the cost of those things that are fundamentally unpredictable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We learned as risk managers, as project risk managers, we learned to deal with certain type of risk. Yeah? It's mostly variation risk. Yeah, something will take us a year to finish. Maybe we can do it in 10 months. Maybe we can do it in 14 months or so. So there is some playground around this 1 year or so. But that's variation. That's a natural variation we have here. Now for the future, we will see more aleatoric risk, which is as such unpredictable. Things happen that no one expected
so
to happen.
So the range of potential risk will be higher?
It's not only the range, it's the kind of risk. It's the risk when you throw dice. Yeah. It's not about distribution. It's about the question, what is the next number you will see there? Yeah. And
the randomness of it.
Yeah, but it's not the randomness in form of variation. Variation has its own randomness. Yeah. As soon as you have 4, 5, 6 dice, then you bring randomness in again in form of variation. But if it's only one, then what you have is aleatoric risk. It could be this or that, yeah? Or something unexpected could happen. It falls down to the ground or so, yeah? Which you try to avoid, but sometimes it happens. Yeah, unpredictable. We will see things that surprise us.
Black swans is that
the unknown unknowns.
Yeah.
We were dealing mostly with the known unknowns, with things that we can identify. We can take some preparations. We can have reserves. Important element of risk management is reserves, but that's something we can do with the known unknowns. But now we have the unknown unknowns. We should have reserves for them too, but we don't know how much we need, yeah? Because we don't know how much damaging this may be to us. And the government shutdown, 2018, 2019 was, to me, the perfect example of such a situation. It was, at least for those people who suffered from that, it was not predictable. And some people deeply in politics may have said, okay, may happen, but generally no one really expected that. And then it was just there, and it was too late for companies to respond to that. They should have responded to that risk
also
a year ago, maybe.
From a financial perspective, I mean, how much cash flow you have or how much you have in reserves is something that's reviewed on an annual basis. And if you have a lot of money that's tied up in a company, you might have shareholders who say, why aren't you investing it somewhere else instead of holding it in reserve? So these are this will be a big.
It's worse. That's a point. But there's a much worse point. What is if you take the sum of the margins of the different projects a contractor company has? Maybe they have 20 projects at the same time. They have costs. They have revenues. The difference between those two is the margins. Then with the sum of these margins, with the total margins, they have to cover their indirect costs. Yeah. Administration and these things, and then they have the cost of winning new business as another cost factor. Two types of indirect costs.
Or reacquiring a new market with a new product, or reacquiring a market after it's gone cold.
I would put this under cost of winning new customers or winning new business, because this is just business in another market. Yeah. I would, but it's an expensive thing to do. Winning new business is an expensive thing to do. Administration is an expensive thing to do. Now, if you look, okay, we have these margins from the projects, so many percent. Then we have to deduct from the sum of the margins. We have to deduct these indirect costs. How much is remaining there? And when I ask people in their companies, how much do you really have? Companies that live on projects, on doing projects for other organizations, the typical numbers are between 5 and 10%. And this is insufficient to build monetary reserves.
Okay, so yeah, if you're talking about low margin, business.
I'm not talking about low margin. The margins may be quite high, but the indirect costs to make the business to win this high margin projects is also expensive. So they are not spending the money in the project. They are spending in developing new, paying business, and it's expensive to develop well-paying business.